Released in early 2011 for the PlayStation 3, Killzone 3 is the third full game in Sony's first-person shooter franchise. I feel as though the Killzone series often gets overlooked in favour of the bigger console shooters, and that previous games in the series failed to get the audience they truly deserved. Does Killzone 3 do anything to remedy this? Well, let's find out.
Nobody move! Everyone stand absolutely still!
The game takes place 6 months following the events of the previous game. The Killzone saga plays out against the backdrop of an interstellar war between the ISA and the technologically advanced Helghast. You take control of Thomas Shevchenko, and the game begins in a rather unique way, which puts you into the perspective of your enemy. I'm not going to say much more than this, as I think you should really experience it for yourselves. The game then cuts away to 6 months prior, with the ISA forces storming the battered remains of Scholar Vasari's palace. From here you make your way through the Helghan capital, and the story unfolds into a series of acts which act as a prelude to the experience that you've already had at the very beginning of the game. It's a nice idea and it works well for the most part, as you see just how Sev and his buddy Rico got into the mess in the first place. It's not Shakespeare by any means, but it's at least interesting. The idea of a half-decent single-player storyline is what sets this game apart from many of the peers on its platform. And for someone who isn't all that interested in the multiplayer experience, this is a really good thing. What I feel sets this game apart from the previous title, Killzone 2, is how much better it all feels. Killzone 2 felt a bit clunky in the control department, and you had the feeling that Guerrilla Games focused more on the presentation of the title than the actual way it played. Here the controls have been cleaned up and controller lag has been reduced. This means that the game flows a lot better, and it brings me on to another topic, which is the pacing of the game. In my humble opinion, Killzone 3 has some of the best pacing I've experienced in an FPS in a long while. In many ways it feels like the early Medal of Honor or Call of Duty games, where the focus is often on inserting new gameplay elements and strategies into each level, and then having your set pieces and making things go boom. Granted, the game has these moments, but they never outstay their welcome. There is a fantastic variety to the gunplay here, from the use of heavy mechs to the on-rails tank sections to assaulting a rig using a Helghan jetpack, and the very well placed and immersive stealth section. Killzone 3 ensures that you're never going to get too bored, and it means if you're not a fan of the storyline, you're going to be a fan of its gameplay. Killzone 3 has a very strong multiplayer set, and on top of this you've also got co-op, so really it's covering all the bases, and it's covering them very well. As you can probably tell from the video footage, Killzone 3 is one of the best looking shooters on the market. It swaps the grey areas of the previous game for wonderfully varied locations that actually use something which has been missing from shooters this generation outside of Bioshock and Borderlands, and that's colour. I'm an avid PC gamer, as well as enjoying the best of consoles, and I have to say that the visuals in this game are some of the best I've ever seen, including that of the Crysis series. It's that perfect blend between art design and very sophisticated technology. Killzone 3 is pulling off some very cool effects, character models and huge draw distances, and the cutscenes, despite being pre-generated, are all created using the game's engine, so everything looks very seamless, similar to the Uncharted series. Sound design is almost as strong as its presentation. Joris de Man has done a great job with his score, truly elevating the game to that movie blockbuster status. Guerrilla Games has also achieved the blockbuster status by using some movie industry veterans to lend their voices to some of the characters within the game, most notably Ray Winston as Admiral Orlok and Malcolm McDowell as Stahl, as well as Brian Cox as Vasari. Yes, the script could definitely use some work, but these actors do a really good job with what they've got.
What about the tank group on the left?
Johann Stahl. Well, I'm thrilled to see that the private sector is interested in state affairs. Again.
The ISA tank group on the left. I mean, are you ignoring it on purpose, or is this part of some strategy beyond our understanding?
The only downside to all of this are some slight frame rate drops during busy action sequences, This looks as though it goes down to about 24 frames per second in areas, but this isn't a deal breaker, as for the most part the game glides along at the console standard of 30 frames per second. Additionally, although geometry popping is kept to a pleasing minimum within this game, there are instances where I saw textures being popped in, and there are some low resolution textures within some of the game. But again, these are all very small nitpicks in a very ambitious total package. And this game really is the total package as far as PS3 graphics are concerned, and unlike its predecessor, the eye candy doesn't feel as though it's being wasted on mediocre gameplay. To top it all off, the game runs off of the disc without a major at large installation, and this is always a good thing for PS3 owners with small hard drives. Killzone 3 is one of the best shooters I've played this generation, and quite frankly I wasn't expecting it to be. I must confess that I'm deeply favoured towards shooters that provide a decent single player campaign. But with that being said, I do feel the combination of beautiful visuals, solid and varied gameplay and half decent storyline kept me hooked right from beginning to end. There are a few technical issues that pop up here and there, but Guerrilla Games have more or less kept to their promise of that infamous pre-rendered trailer from E3 2006 in providing one of the best looking and most immersive FPS games you can get. Like the Uncharted games, it shows other developers this is what you can achieve from this stupidly complex architecture within the PS3 when you invest a little bit of time into the development of the game. I'm going to give the game 4.5 out of 5. If you haven't played this game yet and enjoy a good shooter, it's definitely worth picking up as it's pretty cheap these days. I was surprised by the game and you might be surprised as well. Anyway, I'm SirD and take care of yourselves.
We're wasting our command. We got a fast mover on radar.
It's on my tail. I need assistance. All call signs. Break off and assist Raider 3. We're in pursuit of the dropship.
Incoming missile fire, taking evasive. Right. Nice work, command.
Rico, how the hell did you even know I was here?
Arrogant pricks were a little too proud when they caught you.